Hey guys, today I want to talk about the scapegoat, okay, in a narcissistic family. It's so crazy because you can take the scapegoat and the golden child and have them describe their childhood, and you will get two completely different stories. It'll almost sound like these two children raised in the same household had different parents when they didn't. Okay, and yet you can take all the scapegoats in the world, put them together and have them share their story, and it's almost like they had the same parent. That's just how it is when it comes to the scapegoat, the golden child, and narcissistic parents. And that's because narcissists, or narcissistic personality, I should say, is very predictable. Okay, that's why everyone that's been scapegoated can share stories and feel like they're related. But for the sake of this video, I wanted to talk about why, if you're the scapegoat, you probably wondered why, as you get better, it seems like nobody wants to see that. And when I say nobody, I'm talking about nobody in the family, not just the narcissist, but maybe your siblings, maybe extended family members. They don't want to see you in a different light, okay? So let me just explain that if you were chosen as a scapegoat, okay, because that's the real thing. You didn't choose. It had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with the fact that the narcissist splits their personality with the people in their family, and they assign roles, okay? They choose for whatever reason. But they often choose, right, between two people. They will pick the person that they feel, because this is what they're doing by splitting. They're picking the person that they feel reflects everything they would like to be, or what they think they actually are. And that's the golden child, or that's the one that's highlighted as, you know, the amazing child. And the other child is chosen as everything they don't like in themselves. Okay, so remember, narcissists use projection to deal with their own shortcomings, imperfections, characteristics that they don't like about themselves. So when they see something that they don't like about themselves, it's flung into the scapegoat. Maybe it's shame. They don't like the shame that they're feeling, so they then provoke it in the scapegoated child. The child feels shame and they feel better. I knew one family that described this to me. She's like, when my daughter was young, I would notice when my daughter was happy, and this is before she understood the dynamics of narcissistic abuse. She said, when I would see my daughter happy, I noticed that my spouse at the time would say or do something, and suddenly my daughter's face would be like down, and he would feel better. Like he would feel like, I don't know, like seeing that reaction caused him to feel good. She didn't have the terminology for what was going on, but she could see that dynamic. And then she noticed when she tried to help her child to keep happy, like if that child's happy, you're allowed to stay happy, even if dad is upset, even if dad is like that, you're allowed to be happy. And she noticed when the child tried to hold on to the happiness, the father continued and continued until he got that reaction. So that's what the narcissist does with the scapegoat. Everything they don't want to feel, they fling into the scapegoat. And then they set that scapegoated child up to look like the problem. They will do and say things to provoke a reaction in that child. And they'll do that when no one's, they'll do it covertly, when no one's watching, no one notices. So then the child goes out of control, and they're like, they call the family over, like, what's going on? This child has a problem. This child has emotional problems, which they're just kind of projecting their emotional problems onto the child. So the reason I'm bringing that up is to try to help you to know that if you are the scapegoat, it is not because you are less than the other child. It's just because the narcissist chooses. There's the family dynamics. They need one person. They need one person to be I hate to say this, but the garbage pail of everything they don't want to carry that's inside of them. So they feel something, they fling it. They feel something negative, they fling it onto the scapegoated child. Because they don't do that with the golden child doesn't understand what's wrong with the scapegoat. There's that triangulation established, right? and it tears the relationship with the scapegoat with his or her siblings. And it isolates the scapegoat from the family, because the narcissist, since he just needs one garbage pail. See, this is the thing that people don't realize. They think, well, he treats me that way. Doesn't anyone else notice? Isn't this who this person is? Well, as long as they have one garbage pail, they can shine around other people. They don't treat everyone that way. As long as they have that garbage pail, they are a totally different person around other people. So no one believes the scapegoat, because the scapegoat is the only person seeing the true colors of the pathology of the narcissist. It's an awful and lonely way to grow up. Okay? If you're the scapegoated child, I hope you realize by listening to this video and so many others that are out there that it had nothing to do with you. Okay? It had everything to do with the broken prism of reality of the narcissistic parent. However, just knowing that it had nothing to do with you doesn't heal. It helps you to understand your suffering, right? It helps you, it soothes it a little bit. But being treated that way can follow a person for the rest of their life and into all other relationships if you don't do the inner work to heal. Hold that thought. Okay, so thankfully, unlike the golden child, thankfully most scapegoats come to the realization of this, what I'm saying. Thankfully, they're willing to look at themselves because they know there's a problem. The golden child thinks that there is no problem. They think you're the problem. So they never really investigate the dynamics of their family. So sadly, the golden child can sometimes wind up becoming a narcissist in later years, or staying stuck or dependent on the narcissist. They never grow their own personality. They never become their own person, which is really sad. But the scapegoat does. And here's the thing. And this is what I'm getting to. I guess I'm getting to it late in the video. But when the scapegoat does start to heal and realize, there's nothing wrong with me. Like I'm a normal person that's working through the side effects of abnormality in my family. When they really realize that and they start kind of doing the inner work to heal, they'll often visit their family hoping that the family will see that they're okay and will confirm that yes, there's nothing wrong with you, you're doing amazing. And they get frustrated when it doesn't happen, and that can cause a healing scapegoat, right? The person is healing, but it can cause them to get thrown back on their healing journey because the family doesn't seem to want to view the scapegoat any differently. So I just want to say that if that's the case, the family doesn't want to see you differently, not because you're not different, not because you haven't healed, not because of anything really that has to do with you. They don't want to see you change because that would mean that they would then have to look at themselves. Okay, so think about that for a second. It's very sad how a narcissistic parent can sometimes convince the other spouse that their perspective is right? In my face-to-face coaching, I get a lot of clients that tell me, I think my mother or my father is like brainwashed by the other spouse. Well, yeah, that happens completely. So that would mean that the narcissist would have to recognize there's something wrong with them, right? If you get better, they have no garbage pail to blame, and their true colors start coming out, and they don't want that. So they need to keep you in the role that they gave you. The unhealed parent that is married to the narcissist, that would mean they would have to look at their life and realize the reality of it. They would have to realize the reality that there is psychological and emotional abuse taking place. They would have to realize the reality that they've been brainwashed. They would have to realize the reality that their reality is not really reality. And sadly, some unhealed parents aren't ready to do that. The same thing with the siblings. For the sibling to see that there's nothing wrong with you would mean there's something wrong with somebody. And that would mean that it would have to be the parent that has put them in the position of the golden child. And why they want to stay there, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. But they're addicted to staying there. Okay, so they don't want to see you healed because it would mean that if you aren't the problem, they have to look within the rest of the members, including themselves, and they don't want to do that. They have grown so accustomed to their own roles that is normal for them and it's comfortable for them. So where does that leave the scapegoat? Well, there comes a point where everyone has to swallow that truth pill that that's their family, right? And if the family doesn't want to change, then that's where you have to decide what is healthy and good for you. So when it comes to how much contact you want with your family, that's a personal decision. I just want to mention two things to keep in mind, okay? For those that don't want to go no contact, and it's understandable, that's your family, I get it. If you don't want to go no contact, you have to work through your triggers, because what the family will do is they will do things to trigger you so that their stories in their own mind stay alive. Okay? So that their thoughts that you are the problem stay strong. So that they can stay convinced in their false reality. Every time you react from that triggered place, that's like evidence to them that you're the problem. So if you are going to be around your family, make sure your triggers are healed so that when they do things, you can completely look at it and it doesn't touch you. I'm not saying you don't like it or you do like it. Obviously you don't like it, but it doesn't fling you into a fight or flight response. You're just like, oh, there's mom being mom. There's dad being dad. There's sibling being sibling. So glad I'm out of that vortex, right? And you just stay grounded in self. So that's one thing. And then the other thing to remember is that for you to heal and move on, you don't need your family to confirm it. You don't need them to give you a stamp of approval that everything they said about you was false. You don't need that in order for you to hold on to your own reality. Okay, and I say that because so many scapegoats, it's like they get right to the edge of crossing that line into just living their life despite what they had in their past. And they're holding on. They won't cross that line until their family gives them permission or that stamp of approval. And you don't need it, and they will never give it to you. Okay? So allow yourself to hold on to your reality despite your family's lack of validation. And always remember that you need to have boundaries with your family members. Even if you're an adult, just because you're an adult child doesn't mean that they won't try to cross your boundaries. So make sure you know your emotional boundaries and your physical boundaries and that you enforce them. Okay? And then make sure you do the inner work to work through the side effects of what was done. Because those side effects include making you feel like you can't have your feelings. You can't be assertive. It's infiltrated your belief system to make you adopt beliefs like, I don't matter, I'm not lovable, there's something wrong with me, I'm bad. So all of that has to get worked through in order so that you create a future from a healthy place instead of the past simply recreating more of that past. Okay, so take time to find the resources that can help you to do that.